Okay, as you can see, we're in the kitchen today because I'm going to be making some bait and showing you how to make your boilies. Now, to make those boilies, we're going to need a base mix. Now, years ago, you would probably have to put lots of different ingredients together to create your own base mix. And to be fair, there was a lot of guesswork involved. You never really knew if you was using everything at the correct level. Now, fortunately, Mainline have an extensive range of base mixes that take all that guesswork away from you. Like I say, there's a big selection. We've got things like Essential Fish, Protein Plus, got the Liver and Marine here, see the 50-50 high leakage mix there. And then there's some base mixes with much more familiar names. The Cell, got the Hybrid, got the latest bait there, the Essential Cell, Activate. And like I say, the great thing about these base mixes is they take all the guesswork away from you. Mainline have put all the ingredients together, and more importantly, they've put all these ingredients together at their optimum levels. They all combine together perfectly. Been tested and tested and tested, and in some cases been tested over many years, so you can have the confidence that you're using the bait at its maximum effect. Now, to go with those base mixes, you're going to need a liquid flavour, and in the case of the dedicated base mixes such as Cell, Hybrid, Essential Cell, we've got the activators. The activator is all the liquids that you need combined: the sweeteners, attractors, food sources, and vitally, active ingredients. Active ingredients that once combined with your base mix will be triggered by water once you dispatch your bait, giving off that food signal. Now, extremely easy to use. If you was to use the Hybrid base mix, you would use the Hybrid activator. Cell base mix, Cell activator, and so on. Now, once you've chosen your base mix and your liquid flavour, all you need after that is some eggs to combine everything together, and a small amount of equipment. Now, you can roll your boilies by hand, but if you want to speed things up, you can use something like this, where I've got the Gardner sausage gun. And then to make things quicker again, I've got a Gardner rolling table which will roll a number of baits all at one go. I've also got an air dry tray and a towel for drying my baits once I've finished rolling them, a fork for mixing, a measuring spoon or syringe so that I'm using the liquids at the optimum levels, and finally a mixing bowl. So without further ado, let's crack some eggs and start making some boilies. Okay, so I'm going to make a 4-egg mix. So just quickly crack 4 eggs into a mixing bowl. 2, 3, 4. Now, one question that does come up quite a lot is, should I use a medium egg or a large egg? It doesn't really matter. You'll see in a minute as we add the base mix little by little that you're going to build up the paste slowly, so it doesn't matter at all whether you're not using a medium egg or a large egg. The difference is so small. What is important is that you use a fresh egg. Okay, right, got 4 eggs in a bowl. Just going to split those yolks and just gently combine the white and the yolk together with a fork. And now we're ready to add the liquid activator. Now today I'm going to be making Cell boilies, so I'm going to be using the Cell activator. And for a 4-egg mix, the recommended level is 15 ml. So just remove the top there a second. Got a 5 ml measuring spoon. So I'm going to add 5 ml, 10 ml, 15 ml of the Cell activator. straight away, getting that familiar cell aroma. And then I'm just going to gently stir that through the eggs, just so that we get a nice even flavour distribution throughout the whole bait. Okay, that's the liquids done. We now need to add the base mix, and like I say, we're making cell boilies today. So I'll just cut open the top. Now, one thing that's really important here, or rather one common mistake made by people when they start making bait, is they weigh out their base mix into one large quantity, put it all in one go, and then start trying to mix it. And that isn't what you want to be doing. You just want to add your base mix a little at a time. So just added some base mix there. I'm just stirring that in, and I've still got a very, very sloppy wet mix there. So we give that a good mix with the fork. Like I say, you want all the baits to have an even flavour, an even texture. So just mix that through nice and evenly. Okay, and as you can see, that's still a very wet mix, nowhere near ready for rolling. So you need to add a little bit more of the dry ingredient. You'll notice that this time I'm not adding quite as much as I did the first time around. And again, keep stirring that through, building up the paste slowly and gradually. Now, obviously, the more bait you make, the better you'll get at judging this by eye, and you probably can add your base mix and build this up a little quicker. But let's say there's no rush. You just want to be adding your base mix a little at a time. It is the most common mistake that people make, is weighing it out and then putting it all in one go. And you just end up with a paste that's perhaps too dry and crumbly, and won't mix together. Now that's starting to build together nicely now. I'm beginning to find it hard to put the fork through. I'll try and keep it in the bowl. Right, that's coming together nicely now, but that's still too wet, too sticky. But it is starting to form together into one ball of paste. I just need to add a little bit more. Like I say, a very important part of the process is just being patient, just adding it, your base mix, a little at a time. Yeah, I'm really struggling now to get the fork through. So we've got to the point of what you might call the best bit, where we need to get our hands in and start kneading this paste together by hand. Not far off now to having a workable paste. Just keep working it together by hand, kneading it through. You don't want any dry pockets of base mix. just as much as you don't want any soft pockets of sticky base mix. You really want to knead this together well, gather up any of the base mix that's sticking to the bowl. And make sure that the paste is completely even in its texture. It'll roll much better that way. Right, now as you can see, we've got a paste that's binding together, but it's still very sticky. It's still leaving paste on my hands, so we're not quite there yet. So we just sprinkle a little bit more base mix on there, and again, just like before, start working that through, kneading that paste together. I can feel now that that paste is not really sticking to my hands so much now. It's not sticking to the bowl. I'll just scoop it around and get anything that's stuck to the bowl. I think we're pretty much close to what we want anyway. Just give it a good knead now. Still perhaps just a little bit wet, just a tiny bit more. Like I said earlier, you can imagine now that if you had added all your base mix in one go, you would never be able to do what we're doing now, which is just adding maybe a couple of tablespoons worth at a time to get that base mix perfect for rolling. And that's what's important. If you're going to spend the time making your own baits, you really want them to roll perfectly. It's going to save you a lot of time. Right. Just making sure now that this mix is worked through evenly. Definitely getting there now. As you can see, we're really getting a nice solid ball of paste there that's still soft, it's workable, it's pliable, but it's not wet, it's not overly sticky, and neither is it too dry and crumbling away. I'm not going to waste any of my base mix. I'm just going to roll that around there now. Any little crumbs left in the bottom of the bowl there, work them through, and it's actually taken the paste off my hand now. That's a really good indicator that that paste is at the correct consistency, because it's actually cleaned my hand of the majority of the mix that was sticking to it when we first started mixing by hand. So there we go. That mix is now formed into a nice paste, is pretty much ready for rolling. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that for a couple of minutes now, because the liquids within that will still absorb the dry ingredients just a little bit. So we'll just leave that now in the bowl for a couple of minutes. I'll get the bait rolling equipment ready and we can start rolling some boilies. Okay, so we've given that paste a couple of minutes now just for the liquids to absorb any dry ingredients through, and now we're ready to roll. But first I'm just going to give you a nice little tip that's just going to really help the way your baits roll, and that is to add a little bit of an unscented, unflavored olive oil. Now I'm only going to use like half a tablespoon there. Just going to tip that into the bowl, and then I'm just going to roll that mix around in the bowl just to take up that little bit of oil, just so that it puts like a nice shine onto the bait. It's not going to affect the flavour of the bait at all, but what it will do, as you'll see in a second when it comes to rolling the bait, is they will come out of the gun and out of the table a lot better. Right, let's move that bowl out of the way. Now I just need to get my paste into a long sausage like shape now, so I can add it to the bait gun. It looks about right. Just simply take the top off, add that paste. Sorry, I need to open it up first. Just add that paste, get the lid back on, screw that down. There we go, just lined it up. All right. And then it's just a simple case of squeezing the trigger of the gun there. And as you can see, we're now pushing that paste through the nozzle of the gun. Just take the pressure off of that. Now, what I've done is I've matched up the correct size nozzle to the correct size rolling table. And then we're just going to gun these sausages across that table like so, just a couple at a time. There we go. Just get them nice and lined up straight. Line up the top of the rolling table and a little bit of pressure to squeeze it down. Line it up with the base, and then just a forwards and backwards motion. And as you can see, as easy as that, we're rolling a number of baits all at the same time. Now, because we've added that little bit of oil, those boilies have still got a nice little shine on them, and they're just rolling off the table there easily. There's no cracks in them, got a nice smooth skin to them. And like I say, because we added that little bit of oil, they're just rolling off the table. They're not sticking, not leaving a residue of paste on the table. So as soon as you've rolled one lot of baits like that, your table is perfectly ready to roll your next batch. And that's what I'll do. I'll keep going now until I've rolled everything within the bait gun, and then we're on to the next step. Okay, so that's all that paste rolled out into baits now. It's taken me around 10 to 15 minutes to roll that entire mix. And all we need to do now to transform these baits from small balls of paste into boilies is, as you could guess, boil them. So I'll put some water on the boil. Once it's ferociously boiling, really boiling away, I'll add 12 to 15 baits at a time. I don't want to add too many and take that water off the boil, and my baits soak in a bit of water. I want to give them a nice cooked skin on the outside. I'll add them to that water for about 2 minutes, lift them out, put them onto an air dry tray or a dry towel, let them dry before they're ready for use. So there you go, that's all of our baits rolled now. They've been drying here on the tray for around 20 minutes, probably need to give them another couple of hours just until they've got a nice dry skin on them. And like I say, these baits are absolutely jam-packed with active ingredients. So they will react with the moisture in the air. So if you're not going to use your bait straight away, then store them in the freezer. But like I say, there you go, perfectly round, ready to go. Now, because you've put the elbow grease in, you would have saved a few quid by rolling your own baits. And of course, the minute you catch a carp on one of these boilies, you've got the ultimate satisfaction that you've caught them on a bait that you've rolled yourself.